Hello everyone. I'm just sharing some of these sounds with you from these sacred sound tools here. And in preparation, we're in this ceremony already. This is a ceremony for the solar eclipse here on September 21, 2025, that is going to take place in minutes. Now, we won't see the solar eclipse here, but what we know is that the moon is right now almost aligned with the sun. And on the southern hemisphere, they will see the sun being blocked about 85%. It's a new moon. And more intense when it is an eclipse. But before we go into that, I want to invite in all of the non-human family around us and this sacred space. So you can see this prairie here. This is a wonderful prairie, and the grasses are actually shorter here than what we walked in, and we're 7 feet tall, blue stem grasses. And there are dragonflies everywhere. And they seem to come in when there's special ceremonial processes, but that could be my imagination. They're with us though. And you can see the flowers, mostly the goldenrods and sunflowers and things. Most of the summer flowers have faded, but we're in this season. We're in the fall season, or the end of summer season, the harvest time. And in many respects, when we're talking about the astrological energy that's going on, the seasonal sign of Virgo, the very last degree of Virgo, the quintessential one, where it is about all of these Virgoan things, which on the mystical level is the capacity to keep the flame lit in your sacred temple, and the capacity to create on the physical plane the vibration or the frequency or just the spatial and physical arrangements that are resonant with the frequencies that we're bringing into our alignment spiritually. So our spiritual alignment and our physical reality come into harmony. They come into resonance with each other. And so Virgo has a lot to do with doing sacred ceremony, doing rituals, with arranging our time and our taking care of our health, something we associate a lot with Virgo. But it's about caring for the temple and about arranging that. So if you saw a previous little clip I made, the idea here is that there's a whole lot of other things that are going on in terms of planetary energies. And one of the more significant ones is there are many of them, there are actually many things that are signaling an omega into alpha time. And we are certainly experiencing a whole lot of things ending these omega times. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I want to emphasize that because these are across the spring equinox, which is going to be opposite where the sun is now. And there are two planets that are very prominent there. In fact, if you have a clear sky and you watch it tonight, at the time the sun sets, you will see Saturn rising. And right there with it, not visible to our eye, is Neptune. And they are straddling that equinox point, that spring equinox point in the signs of Pisces and Aries. So without getting into a lot of detail about that right now, clearly that is the end of the zodiac and the beginning of the zodiac. Again, two energies that couldn't be more different from each other. Saturn representing the structures in the physical plane, among other things. It's also our karma and us coming to an understanding of our own authority in the world? How are we authoring our lives? And what is the institutional structures of society? So the Omega part, because we see a lot of those disappearing, being broken down, evaporating even. And at the same time, Neptune, which represents these highest visions, these inner frequencies of what we dream the new world to be. And I'm giving you the higher expressions of that, because Neptune is also illusion and delusion. We see a whole heck of a lot of that out there too. Not really knowing what's truth. And so the planetary energies, just to remind you, are what's going on inside of us, inside of collective humanity. The planets out there are showing us what the relationships are, but they're not doing anything to us. They're moving in synchronicity, in resonance with us. So if we see Saturn in prominence, lit up by the sun and rising at the nighttime, then it's clear that it's important to focus on what are we bringing into our physical reality. How are we owning our authority? What are we going to do to bring in the vision that we have for ourselves and for the whole planet? And I'll try to focus mostly on ourselves in this discussion, because I have a tendency, based upon, who I am and that early near-death experience vision, I tend to focus on what's going on in the outer planet, or in the whole planet, in the collective. But to understand that it's how we navigate our lives that is going to have the impact. Very few of us have the temporal power, at least the way it is configured these days in our society today. We're not billionaires. We don't have power in the government. So it's about how are we navigating our lives, and therefore bringing that frequency, the Piscean aspects of our vision, into a physical reality. A physical vibration, so that what we hold out there in the most expansive spaces becomes a reality here in this shared experience. Easier said than done. But that's where we are. And so this eclipse is really signaling to us, as I said, an omega and an alpha. Omega in as much as what are the patterns? Because Virgo is about patterns. Noticing patterns, dissecting patterns, seeing them, understanding how they go together. And by the way, Virgo and Pisces are kind of quintessentially music and sound, because it's the vibration, Pisces, that becomes real in the physical realm, in a pattern, in a way that it vibrates through life. I'm going to keep coming back to that, emphasizing that, because that's where I want to encourage people to focus. So it's not just what do we need to let go of, but where is the missing frequency? It turns out the way that this beautiful gong that my good friend Frank DiCristina prompted me to get while I was in a beautiful sacred ceremony at the head of Serpent Mound last year at this very time. I mean, this is kind of the anniversary. He told me, I got the perfect gong for you. And I said, well, okay, I'm here at Serpent Mound in Ohio, so that must be a sign. And this other vibration, which this crystal bowl came from Shasta, But these actually kind of beautifully, there is a harmony, even though one is very high, sustaining, expansive. This one, it can produce a myriad of sounds, just like we can arrange anything in the physical plane with it. But it tends to bring us into more of the presence of the current patterns. So they do have a harmony. But what if what you're envisioning is missing the frequency that you require? You know, I would like to have, you name it for yourself. What is it that you want to have in your life? But do you believe it? Do you have the Pisces belief that lets you go in and create that? Can you create the vision? I mean, one of the things I want in my physical reality is I need to put a foundation under my house. And there's been all of these barriers. But I'm kind of wondering, well, am I letting the idea that I don't have the money, which is this long-standing thing, in case that's in your realm, like what many of us have that little thing? So am I really feeling that? And I know that a lot of you watching this, you understand that and know that. But it's really enhanced at this time. Because it's so important, not only for you personally, that would change my life when I get that. Not yet, see? Caught myself there. When that happens, that would change my life. But what's more important is, I don't know if it's more important, don't cancel that. Just as important is the fact that when we follow our own unique vision in the world, and we're bringing our frequency, our medicine into the world, then we're helping the whole collective to shift. And there's no guarantee, you know, there's a lot of talk about, well, we're going to go through this portal and it's all going to be beautiful and wonderful. And I hear that a lot, you know, let go of what doesn't serve you and bring in what, and that's easier said than done too. It's kind of like, but the idea here is that if you walk through a doorway, a portal, and you're still looking at the same thing, or looking for the same things, it doesn't matter if the room is shifted, you know? So what is the frequency that you're bringing in? And then the Virgoan part is, how are you creating the patterns in the physical world so that it resonates out, right? Now, some of us may know it's a lot easier to create a new habit. This is a Virgo thing again. It's easier to create a new habit than it is to let go of an old one. And so it's not to say that you shouldn't let go of the old one, let go of what no longer serves you, quote unquote. I'm a little tired of that phrase, but you know. But in this case, as I said, it works. Anyway, it's not just to, what is it that I want to let go of? You're trying to actually rewire your brain, right? And, you know, the Virgoan notion, if we can work with the magician of Mercury to rearrange things, if I put my gong over here, does that change the energy, and the drum over here, and can I move this? You know, I'm just making an example. But how is it that you can rewire your brain and create the resonance that you want? Hello there. Awesome. That dragonfly flew right up over my head. It's easier to create a new habit than to get rid of the old one. Now we know some of those old ones are really destructive, but I also want to suggest that maybe some of the old habits are just misdirected energies that you need to upgrade. So there's a notion in brain, you know, in neurology that we can, if we replace the old habit with the new one, and if you can build on it. So maybe your journey, you know, whatever your own Chiron, you know, woundedness, whatever, has carried you along and you've created bad habits. But maybe you can take that and intentionally bring it into a whole different level of frequency, a whole different level of understanding. to a whole different level of outcomes. So here we are at this last degree of Virgo, and since it's a new moon and an eclipse, it's an intensified beginning. But because it's the last degree, and because there's a whole bunch of other planets that are doing this dance between Omega and Alpha at this time, and planets, again, translate that to the archetypes within ourselves. Part of the craziness that we feel, or the chaos, is because of that. What we've known is trying to break down, and that's uncomfortable for almost everybody, except maybe the person who's creating the chaos for everybody else, because they feel in control. Never mind that. A little common. But the chaos is part of the process. You know, out of chaos, creation can come. And sometimes it has to break down significantly. And which is, I'm branching out here a little bit. It's a little bit of a tangent, perhaps, but not really. Because it's so important, and I'm sure many of you have seen this and experienced this, but it's so important to remain connected to people in our community, to remain connected to the earth. I didn't describe why this is I described some of the beauty, the natural beauty of this place, but as a sacred site, it connects us to many different things. And the airplanes that you heard, we're right in the same space where it connects us to the whole world. And because this is a sacred space, and kind of connected to the grasses and the dragonflies, and to my friend Christy over here, but it goes beyond that. And so one of the ways to deal with the chaos that we feel in maybe our own personal lives and the stuff that's breaking down is to remain connected at the heart level, through the earth, to nature, with each other, stay grounded. And again, I'm repeating things that you probably heard. It's always worth repeating. And I'm even finding it hard to stay connected to the friends that I know and love now. Phone calls don't get returned, texts take forever, things like that. And it can be hard on us. But I think it's really important right now that the web that we weave within our human family and our non-human family and across the whole planet, as we send the energetic, as we sink into where's our own resonance, and I know, again, repeating what so many know, I was just telling Christy beforehand, we were sharing, because we're just getting to know each other. She just came back from a conference that was talking about gut and brain health, and she incorporated all this stuff about resonance medicine. And sharing how I met the founders of the Heart Math Institute when I started my journey so many decades ago, when they were just beginning, and understood the importance of that, and how gratitude brings us into coherence. And it was interesting, last night I went to this wonderful presentation under the night sky done by someone else. Someday I will do that for people, myself. But he was using a laser pointer and pointing out that you want to make sure you're not pointing it at an airplane. And people are like, whoa. Well, a laser can reach that airplane 5 miles high. And that's like, really? How's that possible? Well, think about your own energy field. And when you're in that heart-brain coherence, you're like a laser with your energy. And all you have to do is be in that state of gratitude. There's other states too. The simplest one is to really fully experience that. And when you're feeding that into the earth, the most important thing when you come to a sacred site is you offer gratitude to Mother Earth, to life, to Father Sky. So in this moment, if you sink into that and you allow yourself to be feel a grounding cord descending into the earth. I won't make this a full meditation, but I want to share the prompts so that if you're listening to this and you take this to the next level, you can always turn it off and turn it back on again, because it usually takes me about 10 minutes to talk through for people to actually get fully grounded and centered and present, where your energy is all here within you. It is centered in your heart, and you're grounded to the earth within your body. And you're, as much as your higher self as you can bring in, is here present with you. Grounded, centered, and present. And then, if you find that state of gratitude for whatever you're grateful for. Today, I'm grateful to meet up with my new friend. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that I have these instruments. I'm grateful for the way of life that I was invited into as a Hupa Dakota. I'm grateful for all the people in my life, for the beauty and the love that I've shared. Lots of things. And when we feel that, I'm grateful for those dragonflies that are going around. These blue skies, that warm sun. So when you find that gratitude, find yourself grounded, acknowledging your non-human family, acknowledging that you're a part of the whole planet, the whole earth, but centering in yourself, fully bringing yourself in. And if you'd like, close your eyes and ask yourself, first of all, and this doesn't have to be the full, complete, the most extensive, broad vision board, because we're just going to create this in your mind, and you can come back and revisit it, but just grab one piece. What is the vision that you want for your life? And if you can extend that, if it is harmonious with a vision for what you want with the earth, even more powerful. So what is it that you're wanting to bring in, but you haven't been able to bring it in yet? Or maybe it's just something you've starting to create. But can you hold that frequency within yourself? I love the cicadas going on here, adding their sounds. There's breezes. There's somebody buzzing my ear right now. There's all of these visions, all of these frequencies around me. And there's even traffic in the background. So the traffic might be something that I need to represent a frequency that is interfering with the frequency of that vision. So that might be one I need to let go of. And that could be the habit that is blocking you from moving towards the vision. But you can ask, and you can ask Spirit to help you. Can I sink fully into that frequency, that appreciation, that visioning of this new earth, of the reality of how I want to live with it, with the days that I have left to me, that I am so grateful for. And so, if you can, allow yourself to sink into that. And see how might it harmonize with what's already going on in your life. And if necessary, if there are some frequencies that you need to drop away, some habits, some patterns in the way of your life, because we need to work both sides of this. Not just these frequencies of our imagination, but the frequencies of how we live our day-to-day life. How we make that spirit resonate in this physical plane. So, letting yourself find those spaces where you can find a resonance, and at least identifying what are the things that you may need to quiet or overwrite. As I spoke earlier, the best way to deal with an old habit is to overwrite it with a better habit, because those grooves are already in your brain and they're hard to pull out, and sometimes they might be a blessing in disguise. They might not feel that way, but they can be sometimes the roadmap for you to finding your own unique self. So I'm way off script now, but that's the way I roll. But I want you to feel that if you can, and come back to it when you need to. We're already in the eclipse energy right now. The alignment with the moon with the sun. And what does that represent? Embodiment. Bringing the solar frequencies, the solar energies, these spiritual energies into the body, the moon. The sun is representing that spiritual energy, that connection to the whole cosmos, and the moon representing your body and the feeling nature. So it's about embodying that. And again, if you're not doing it the exact time of the eclipse, do it again later. Do it whenever you can. Keep bringing that frequency in. Now I want to mention that this is the opening to this weekend energy, because here we are on a Sunday. And tomorrow we will reach the equinox. And one of the things to know is that at the equinox, everywhere on the planet has the same amount of light and dark. No other season does that. Only at the equinoxes does everybody have equal daylight, equal darkness. And that's something I just want you to intuitively contemplate. It's a shared moment on all people on the earth. And it's the time to bringing into balance. And because of the other astrology that is happening that I won't detail, but it's a time of assessing. Like here, this prairie had to be planted about 10 years ago now and managed. But we're reaping the benefit now. It's this beautiful prairie with monarch butterflies and dragonflies and all these other beautiful creatures in these plants. So where is your life and how can you bring it into balance? Is there some karmic pieces that you need to attend to before you can move into that next space? And as well, the emphasis on our relationships and how that reflects to us where we are in our own growth and development, as well as how are we helping another person in their growth and development. That's all bringing us into balance as well. This is a particularly potent time. I feel like this presentation has been long enough, so I'm only going to mention a couple of pieces that can go into this highly integrated energetic time of revolution, shift, and change, and the way it's supported, and the importance of staying in our vibration that we want to bring in, even as things around us become chaotic, is that the following day, Venus and Mars are in supportive aspects right now, and they are in focus. They're focusing on the Saturn-Neptune that I mentioned earlier. So that's the astrologies. The Saturn-Neptune is what are we drawing from our imagination and our vision, Neptune, into our physical reality, Saturn. What are we willing to work towards? What do we believe, and what are we willing to work towards into creating something new? And Venus and Mars are working together to support that right now on either side of the sun-moon at this moment. But the transformation and the embrace of many ideas, Pluto, Uranus, they are in a very supportive focus along with where the sun and moon is now. That's the astrologies. What it really means is that we can do this revolution and we can support each other as individuals, as equals. And while that is happening, and Venus and Mars are focusing it from their respective positions, what is happening is Mars on Tuesday will come into a high tension energy with Pluto. Normally astrologers would go, whoa, because if you're not channeling the divine masculine at that point, if you're not embracing that, if you're not bringing forward yourself, because it's how we project ourselves into the world, how we go after what we want. Don't just think men here, just think about how you're taking action in the world. It's unfortunate that we connected Venus and Mars so highly with men and women. I think that gets in our way, frankly. But to understand that we all take action, and it's through that action that we create things. Well, when Mars is squared Pluto, a lot of times that can represent a kind of explosive transformation. That can represent people becoming angry and trying to bring about that shift or that change right now, or trying to take power. What makes that more highly volatile, if you will, or the potential for a positive change within ourselves, is the moon. It's aligned with the sun right now. In 2 days, it's aligned with Mars. It happens at exactly the same time. That is stunning. That almost never happens. That Mars is squaring Pluto and the moon is there. So what does that mean in more plain language? You're going to feel it immediately. It might actually jump ahead. There could be some of that, because it's so volatile in its nature, some of that energy could be being expressed right now, where people are so deep in their own energy of what they're trying to get done, in the sense of where is empowerment going, and is it not working for me, is it working for me, and where that energy has to be released is what's important. And the moon activating that means it's going to be felt in your body. So be really mindful of allowing that energy to be released in positive ways, transforming your own life, taking actions towards your vision, and embracing the idea of that all of us, regardless of our station in life, are spiritually equal, should be spiritually empowered equally. And I could go on and on with that one, but let's just say Mars moving into Scorpio, meaning deep transformational level, that is intended to bring energies together for greater empowerment. And it is squaring Pluto, meaning we're compelled. Pluto in Aquarius, we're compelled towards, I'm going to give you my interpretation, towards social justice, of equal empowerment. And there's all kinds of other consequences and ways that can be interpreted, but that's what I'm going to offer you. And that the moon is there so you can embody it. And the timing of that, because I forgot it, is, wow, here in the Twin Cities area, it's at sunrise. It's at sunrise. 6:35 a.m. Pluto will, make sure I got the right one. Yep, Mars squares Pluto, the moon conjuncts it. So if you have a prayer of action that you can do on that day, on Tuesday, the 23rd then I highly recommend that. Can be watchful, can be mindful, because, I'm sorry, the 24th. Wednesday the 24th, misspoke. Wednesday the 24th, prayer of action. Important that you channel that energy and be mindful of other people, because the unconscious among us will try to blow it up and burn it down. What we want is, well, I'll just say we don't want that. Something more akin to, you know, the caterpillar turning to mush and then becoming something new. So with that, I want to thank you all for, to close this out, my friends. This was intended to be ceremonially presented, and it is from the standpoint we started with ceremony when I was off the recording, and we will end it with ceremony after this. But I want to just share with you the idea that we are asked to be looking for the patterns in our lives at this time and finding the new patterns that become resonant, more resonant with the visions we hold for creating our own life and how that is resonant with the life of a new earth. And so with that, I'm just going to bring a little bit of a sound and with the drum and then the others, so that as you note, what are the patterns that you need to bring into your space, into your life, the new patterns. It's a new moon. Tomorrow we begin a new season and a new balance. So find the patterns in your life that you want to bring forward that are resonant with the vision of that life fulfilled. Until they harmonize. And keep coming back to that harmonization. Find the missing frequencies in your fellow human beings and your non-human relatives. Stay close to the earth, grounded, centered, and present. Al Mataki.